Hello, I am Lolita Hayes, the Vintage Starlet, and I am here to bring you my vintage life. I wanted to try something new today, something that is so far out of my realm that I may be able to keep this video short and sweet. I am not what one would call an avid book reader. I have hated reading ever since I was a little tiny tot. I hated reading so much that I remember in the first grade we had to do an oral book report on a book of our choosing, and I hated reading it so much that I just didn't read it, and I was going to go up there and do my oral report just by making things up. And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those pesky and then yeah, I kind of made it obvious that I didn't read the book. And to quote one Alice, "In my world, books would be nothing but pictures." But it's been this lack of interest in reading that has really made it difficult for me over the years to read. I have a hard time reading now, which is very strange because in school I always super excelled in the reading and comprehension portions of our tests. Now, as much as I hate reading, I do find that when I do read a book, it really helps improve both my speech and writing, which you totally can't tell from this video.
Good story, Lolita. You should dedicate a video just to that.
So it's no surprise to you that I like to read simple books. Very basic, like 6 words per page, big font, big lettering. Maybe slightly exaggerating, but the point is still there. I enjoy reading vintage dime novels. Once I hit my 20s, I pretty much only read Nancy Drew books, and that's about the level of reading I do nowadays. Once in a while, I will pick up a classic book just to actually experience it, but those books usually take me a super long time to get through. About 15 years ago, I started buying vintage books from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and I found that these quick published fast stories, just super what we think of as dime novels, so I'm all about these simpler reads. Tales of my reading woes is not while I'm here. In fact, it's my reading triumphs that I'm here. Well, sort of. If you read vintage books, you know that it is near impossible to find out what a book is about before you buy it, especially if it's from the 20s, 30s, or 40s. So I thought, how fun would it be for me, who hates reading, to share with you what my latest read is about. That way, if it sounds like something you're interested in, you can go out and purchase it yourself. This isn't exactly a review, and it's not exactly a book club. It's kind of a bastardized child of the two. I'm here to tell you what the book is about, and maybe give you my little bit of review.
Get on with it!
For my first vintage book summary, we have Sally Scott of The Waves. My outfit makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it? This book was published in 1943 and is part of the Fighters for Freedom series. Additional books in this series include Barry Blake of the Flying Fortress, Nancy Dale, Army Nurse, Kitty Carter, Canteen Girl, March Anson and Scoop Bailey of the U.S. Navy, Dick Donnelly of the Paratroops, Sparky Ames and Mary Mason of the Ferry Command, and Norma Kent of the Wax. I've only read the one so far, but as you can probably guess, this is a real patriotic series. Now, while I understand that I am an aged adult, don't know if I really actually understand that, these books were geared towards young adults, late teens, early 20s. These books were published in the final years of the war, which at the time they didn't know was the final years of the war, so they really wanted to really embrace that patriotic, go America, do your part, we're in it for the country mentality for the young adults of America. Who is Sally Scott? Sally Scott is a young 20-something-year-old woman who has just enlisted into the Waves. The story opens up with her having her interview to see if they're going to go ahead and accept her. Is she right for the Waves? Is she right for America? Well, of course she is, because she has American pride and she has gumption. She is joined at the recruitment center with her friend Nancy, and while there she meets her new bunkmate, Barbara. Now Nancy has a secret. Hidden away in her closet is a little black box. Now you see inside this box there is a secret radio.
Oh my goodness.
A big no-no when it comes to the military. We don't need you to give away secrets now. Well, it turns out that her neighbor, an old man by the name of KC, invented this radio. And he knows that it could be good for America and it could be good for the military. But he is too embarrassed to bring it to them himself because he has had many failed and embarrassing inventions prior to this radio. So somehow he convinces his neighbor there,
Sally,
to sneak it on board, where she could get in a lot of trouble should this radio be discovered. But he is sure that this is an amazing invention. It just needs to be tested out. And good old
Sally,
like, sure pal, I got you. So naturally,
Sally,
she's accepted into the Waves and she goes off to her, I guess it's kind of like a boot camp, but it's more like studious. Let me teach the ladies how to be in the military. And of course she's being like all sneaky and trying to test this out. While she's testing this out, she gets into a little jam, but it ends out being good because she meets yet another friend. This time, a boy named Danny. Man named Danny. He's a sailor now. He's, like 22. Without giving away too much more of the story, because it is a very basic, quick, simple read, Sally realizes while sneaking around playing with this radio that she is finding a new wavelength where she's hearing coded messages. But is it enemies? Is it allies? Is it their own American military? She doesn't know. How is she gonna know without being caught with this thing? Yada yada yada. A few adventures later, bad things happen, good things happen. There are a couple military battles that happen that really amp up the drama, and I'm just gonna say there was one part in there where I'm like, ooh, we got some drama happening. Sally Scott is so perfect that this drama didn't even last a whole paragraph. It was more like, hey, what are you doing in my room? Why are you messing with my stuff? Girl, I'm about to expose you. I am going to sabotage you. No you're not. Okay, I guess I'll leave. Bye, bitch. That was it. That was the drama. I'm like, ooh, good. We're gonna get into a fight. She's gonna tell on her. She's gonna get her in trouble for sneaking around. No. In fact, she goes, did she try messing with my stuff? Doesn't look like it. I guess I'll move on. What is that? What is that? What? At least tell on the girl. Come on. Get her in trouble. Boring. So lastly, I will just say that keep in mind this was written in the middle of World War II. This was back in the 40s. So for those of you that might be interested in this book but are sensitive to language of the past, I will let you know there are a couple times when the Japanese, who were America's enemies at this time, they are referred to as the cut down version of Japanese and spoken to as the enemy. They don't say anything beyond just those bad The second part that some people might be sensitive to is that when they're referring to the Black American sailors, they refer to them as the colored sailors. So in the book, when you read about when the Black American sailors are singing their songs, they do spell it out phonetically as how it was perceived that Black Americans spoke back in the day. Those are like quick little quips that I don't think distract from the storyline, keeping in mind the times, but if you're sensitive to that, don't get the book. This is an interesting book to read, knowing that this was a, like I said, a very patriotic, very after school special type book for young adults. I mean, there's a few instances in there where they're in this dramatic moment and Sally's like, we gotta do our part for America. We gotta do our part for the boys. And then there's one part where she's like, oh no, 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 no. I can't have the money. But if you insist, I'll give it right back to America and buy those war bonds. You know, I'm being a little silly here, but like, I'm for that. Like, hey, do your part, do your part. Sally has a few adventures. She has a couple love interests. She has a little beef with some girl. And she makes new friends. Oh, all while being good buddies with her old man neighbor. Doing this for him. Yeah, 'cause you're gonna be redeemed, Casey. Screw them for telling you you're awful with your failed inventions. This is the one, and I'm gonna help you. So I will just end it with saying I got this off of either eBay or Etsy, one of the two, and I think I paid between like $9 and $18 with shipping. I may have gotten this one in a book bundle, I don't quite remember. I was really interested in reading this one because it does have more of a historical aspect to it versus just a story, very 1940s wartime. So there you have it, my book summary. So if this is a book that you're interested in reading, I believe you can find a few copies of this online right now on both eBay and Etsy. If you can't, just kind of keep an eye out for it. It'll pop back up. Okay, that was it. Wow, I'm excited. Ooh, it's over. You can probably tell from my review of this book that I am not a reader. Don't judge. I have a hard time reading. In my head, this one's so much better. If you are not completely annoyed by my obnoxiousness by now, feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. Like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Do you suggest any cool 1940s books? I tend to like books that are, you know, like pre-45, you know, because like I'm an era snob. But as always, you can follow me on nearly every social media platform at The Lolita Hayes, as well as follow me on my vintage blog, vintagestarlet.blogspot.com. And as always, have a great day and go out and make the world an even more beautiful place just by being you. Unless you're that bitch that fucked with Sally Scott.
Wave over Germany, the stars and stripes.